Well, in less than a week's time, anglers across the southern part of the province will be able to go fishing again for all their favorite fish. But just where to go and what to do in order to catch the province's most popular fish, the walleye, can be a little tricky. Jason Matity of mattitysgetfishing.com is here to make some sense of it all. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
You are positively giddy at this time of the year. You've got this date circled on your calendar.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, April's a pretty tough month, because I can't go fishing. I mean, technically I can if I find some trout somewhere. There's a few limited openings, but May 5th is, it's a renewal of sorts for me.
You are the Wizard of Walleye. What is it that we're looking for at this time of the year as we go hunting for the most popular fish here in the province?
Well, walleyes, they can be a little tricky first thing in the year. They're finishing up the spawning ritual a little later than pike, which is why often when you bring me in the spring, I talk about pike. But they can be had, but the key is finding current. Go with the flow, so to speak, and you're going to at least find the walleyes in most locations.
So why is the current so important for the walleye?
Well, a lot of species that walleye feed on tend to gravitate towards the current. The current tends to bring in warmer water. It melts the ice, I'm talking late March, early April. And that continues to drive warm water and drive fresh oxygen, and it brings the bait, if you will, into those areas. And the walleyes are not too far behind. And walleyes also use current to keep the bottom substrate clean, like rocks and sand, where they do spawn and lay their eggs. So it's where they make a living to make more walleyes, and it's also where they sit up to feed pre and post spawn.
Let's talk about the gear. Do I have to alter things early in the season, or am I going with my standard walleye setup?
Well, we talk a lot about, especially for pike, using those bigger lures, those bigger flashy minnow baits and stuff like that. But what you want to think about is, and I brought a few samples here, downsize your minnow baits to something a little bit smaller. I don't know if the folks can see this or not, but typically, that's about a half the size of what we're using for pike. If you want to try going a little bigger, though, this still is mighty effective for both pike and walleyes with a little bit of flash and wobble. But one of my favorites, and it's one of these rubber tails, is it's a Trigger X sort of thumper tail minnow, and just swim that through the water. And the other thing is, when you're in current, you're going to want to upsize your jig, your weight a little bit more. From something like this, something a little smaller we traditionally use for walleyes where you don't have current, but you still need to get that bait down because the current will lift the bait up. So you might have to mess around with your weights to get down into the fish zone.
In the video that we're showing, we see you guys doing it from the boat, but is this something we can do shoreline?
Absolutely, and that's the really cool thing about this time of year. For about the next 6 weeks, the fish are really shallow. Typically they're in less than 10 feet, and most current areas in southern Saskatchewan, we're talking about 3, basically. We're talking about the Qu'Appelle River, over by Yorkton, the Assiniboine River, and maybe Lake Diefenbaker and areas like that. There isn't a lot of current options out there, so we're talking very narrow river sections that are usually very, very shore accessible that anglers can get there without having a boat.
Fantastic. As always, Jason, a pleasure.
Thank you.
Good luck and good fishing.